Hi everyone, my name is Shannon. I'm a graduate assistant with Center for Sustainability at Georgia Southern University. Today I'm going to show you how to pickle vegetables, which is Workshop 5 in the Spring Campus Community Garden Workshop Series. Depending on what produce you planted and when, you might start seeing things in your garden that are ready to harvest at this time of year. And in the spring, you might have more harvest than you can use at once, and that is where pickling comes in. Pickling is a process of preserving food and can be used on more than just cucumbers. You can pickle fruits, vegetables, meat, and eggs, but today we're going to stick with the basics and pickle some cucumbers. To make your pickles, you're going to need a sterilized flash jar. You can sterilize your jar by boiling it in water, and you want to make sure that the lid is not rusted at all. This is especially important if you're using a used jar and not one that's brand new. You need vinegar with at least 5% acidity. The acidity count is on the label, and I have white wine vinegar today, but you can use other types of vinegar like rice vinegar and apple cider vinegar, anything but balsamic because that will not work. You will also need some pickling salt. If you don't have pickling salt and you don't want to purchase any, you can use sea salt that is not coarse. If it's coarse, it'll say it on the jar of salt itself. And you'll notice that it's coarse because it'll be thicker and larger grains than typical table salt. You need what you plan to pickle. Today I will be using cucumbers, some seasoning, and I am using some fresh dill from our garden. You can use many different things. I'll talk about that later, but I'm going to be using dill. And if you want a sweeter pickle, then you can add unrefined sugar. I'm not doing that today, but it is an option. So let's get started. One thing that is important to note is that this method is called quick pickling, which means that your pickles are not shelf stable. You have to put them in the refrigerator as soon as you've made them, and they'll last for 1 to 2 months. But they're delicious, so you'll probably eat them long before that. So first, you need to choose the ingredient that you want to pickle. Today I've chosen cucumbers, and you have to decide how you want to cut them. You can use so many different things to pickle. You can do cabbage, carrots, beets, and many more items that you might have in your garden and that we have growing in our campus garden. I chose 2 cucumbers today, and I chose to cut them into spears just because I think that's what's going to fit best in my jars. So what I'm going to do first is add my spice to my jar. So like I said, I chose dill, and about 2 nice looking pieces of dill will work for you. You can use so many different other things, and in fact, typically when you're making dill pickles, you'll use dill seeds, but I didn't have any. So fresh or dried dill will work as well. And you can try other types of seeds too, like mustard seeds, fennel, celery, and coriander. And you can add garlic in here too if you want. Totally up to you. So what I'm going to do next is add my cucumbers, making sure to completely fill the jar. You really don't want any empty space in your jar. That's why I chose to do these spears, but depending on what you have, a different type of cut might work better for you. I think that is what's going to fit. And then I tap my jar to make sure that everything is settled in there. Once I have all of my ingredients in there, I'm going to make a brine. And so this is something that I can't do today because I don't have a way to boil anything out here. But what you'll do at home is create a brine, which means salty solution. So you want 1-to-1 ratio of water and your vinegar. You'll add your pickling salt and your unrefined sugar. Maybe about 1 tablespoon of pickling salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar. You don't want a lot of that stuff, just enough to know that it's there. But for the sake of today, I won't be boiling it. Just remember that that is a very important step, and if you don't boil your brine, then your pickles won't work. Once you have boiled your brine, you'll fill up the jar. You want to make sure that everything in the jar is completely covered. You don't want any exposed vegetables. And then you just lightly screw on the lid. You don't have to squeeze it shut or anything like that. Lightly is fine. Since you'll be using boiling water, your jar is going to be hot, so you'll leave it in the fridge for you'll leave it out for about an hour to cool before putting it in the fridge. Your pickles are going to be ready in 2 to 7 days, just depending on how much you want your flavor to really seep in there. And they'll last for a month or 2, depending on the size of your jar and what you put in it. And again, it's important to remember that these have to be refrigerated and eaten fairly quickly in that 1 to 2 months range. Now, an important safety note: if you notice any of the following things with your pickles, throw them out. If you notice that your container is leaking, bulging, or swollen, if it looks damaged, cracked, or abnormal, if when you open it, liquid or foam comes out, and if any of your food is discolored, moldy, or smells bad. These issues are typically more associated with shelf-stable canning methods, and you're unlikely to have any of these problems, but it's still important to check your pickles to make sure that they're safe, healthy, and delicious. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed learning how to make pickles. Check out the description of this video for more tips, links to great resources on how to pickle, and information on how to join the community garden. So thanks again for watching, and I hope that you enjoy your pickles.